Hello and welcome to Write On, the podcast from Final Draft. This is the show where we talk about all things screenwriting. I'm your host, Phil Galasso. Today we have a special episode. Final Draft's Big Break Contest director Kayla Guess sat down with one of last year's grand prize winners, Mira Z. Barnum. Kayla and Mira chatted about her take on how to win a screenwriting contest, her work on the hit TV show Lucifer, and more. Check it out.
So Mira, welcome to the show. How are you? How have you been since winning Big Break?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm so honored to be here on this podcast that has had so many amazing screenwriters and people from the business. It's a total honor.
Oh, yes, we have. We've had some really incredible interviews this year. I mean, just going back and looking at what our podcast guest list was, 5 years ago versus what it is now, like every single show that's been nominated, for example, for the Emmys, like we're able to reshare those episodes. So that's super cool for us. We're very excited. And of course, adding you to the list. So I think the question we need to start with, what everyone wants to know is, how do you win a screenwriting contest?
Good question. Well, I think the most important thing is to finish it. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time on their scripts. I personally suffer from perfectionism, but the most important thing is to get it done, get it to a place so you can actually submit it on time.
Yeah.
What also really helps is getting lots of feedback. That's one of my favorite parts of the process of writing, is sharing it with other people, getting their opinions, and having them help me punch it up.
Yeah. And, when you were submitting to the contest, did it even occur to you that you might win?
No, it did not occur to me. I just thought, I finished this, I should submit it. And with this script, I wrote it because I wanted to write it.
Yeah.
I had gotten a lot of advice that it wasn't too market friendly, but it just wouldn't leave my head. And I knew that the only way through hell is to go through it. So I need to write this script, get it out of my system so I can move on to the next thing. Yeah. So once I did finish it, I submitted it to the contest and I thought, well, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, wise choice. So give our audience the elevator pitch of your winning pilot, Beirut.
Yeah. Beirut is about a American ex-war correspondent who's living in 1970s Beirut. And she teams up with an American CIA agent and a Palestinian freedom fighter in order to try and save the city she loves from breaking out into civil war.
Wow. So much going on there.
Yeah.
It's a great, obviously it's a great script. It made it all the way through.
Yeah. Thank you. It's the legend I always grew up with. My mom was raised in Beirut and lived the civil war. So it was this story that was always percolating in the back of my mind. And I thought, wow, this should be on screen someday.
Yeah. And you weren't always a TV writer, right? You started out as a documentarian.
Yeah. I
think I just made that word up, but yeah.
But it works. I know what you mean. I always loved film and TV, but there's this little line of advice that probably a lot of people in the listening audience have heard, which is, if you can be anything other than a TV writer, be that, because It is so hard. So I spent a lot of my life trying to convince myself out of it. And I did work in documentary. I worked for NGOs. I lived abroad. I tried to get TV out of my system, but it just didn't work. And just the joy of writing on its own was a reward. So I came back to it and moved to LA, and here I am.
Yeah, you are. So you are now a working TV writer. Tell us what show you're on.
I'm on a show which hasn't been announced yet, so I can't talk too much about it. Okay. But it's, I know you tried. It's a Netflix drama that should be coming out 2023, potentially.
Okay. Very exciting. But you do have experience in the room with, being a support staff. And that's a hot topic that we didn't want to skip over because, we're always in support of the writer. So what can you add to the conversation as someone who's been in that chair?
Yeah, I've been support staffing since 2018 now. And luckily I've had nothing but amazing, supportive, instructive showrunners and bosses to work for. Mm-hmm. Which unfortunately is not the norm. And I've had, being in support staff positions has been such a learning curve for me. I wouldn't be the writer I am today without all that experience, without being invited to sit in the room and listen, being invited to pitch, getting opportunities to write outlines and write story documents. So it's an invaluable experience that can help any writer. And I think it's a shame that a lot of people are excluded because of the low pay that a lot of assistants get. So I think getting better wages and better work environments across the board for support staff will only enhance the TV industry, bringing in diverse voices, people from different backgrounds. I think that's the way forward. And I hope we'll see more progress.
Yeah, and maybe the way forward too is, rethinking what that position is even referred to as, because it's really more of a managerial or coordinator type of a position. So it's almost like holding on to that assistant title is what's blocking the pay from changing and the upward movement within the room from changing. I do wonder if it was changed from assistant to coordinator or to, manager of like a room manager under the showrunner. Like, I feel like maybe that's another idea for a path forward. But yeah, I'm glad that you had your experience was the exception to the rule, because we don't hear that often. So you did move up in that room. You had your first episode of television air. Tell us about that.
Yes, I did. I rose to the ranks. I was hired on the wonderful, wonderful show Lucifer as a writer's PA. And I remember the day that I was promoted to script coordinator and having that little happy dance moment of, wow, assistant is no longer in my title. So
yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that. Yes, I got the opportunity to get a story by credit on Lucifer, which was one of the best days of my life. And it recently aired. And the whole writer's room got together for a little party, a little viewing party. And I definitely cried. Yeah. I wasn't the only one who cried. It was just the experience of a lifetime. Hopefully the first of many more to come. Fingers crossed.
What did the conversation look like? And like, or maybe really what I really want to know is, what did that feel like, knowing that you were going to be responsible for an entire, like the story of an entire episode of a show that's been around for a while, that has very devoted audience, fan base? What does that feel like the first time being responsible for, doing, keeping the show's voice, adding your voice to it, and just maintaining, I guess, the brand of the show? I don't know, I'm making words up again, but it's like, what did that feel like? I feel like for me, that sounds like, holy shit, what if I fuck this up? That's where my brain would be.
Yes, I can totally understand why it might feel like a holy shit moment, but Joe and Ildy, the showrunners of Lucifer, were so supportive from day one. I knew I was in good hands, and that the mere fact that they trusted me enough to do it meant that I could do it, because they are smart people who wouldn't throw me out into the deep end without a life vest. So I felt like I was being supported every step of the way. I just want to give a shout out to the both of them, because they are so committed to raising up the next generations of writers. And one of the things that was really formative for me was getting to spend time on set and produce the episode, having a voice in the casting sessions and costumes and props and just being on set.
Yeah.
Sitting next to the director and the script supervisor, having my opinion being heard about how lines are delivered. I think even in the writer's room now, staff writers, executive story editors, unfortunately, they're not getting the chance to be on set just because of the way things are going with studios. So I'm just eternally grateful for that, because it's not the norm.
No, I mean, and also just like, regular day folk outside of the industry, I'm sure that your friends and family that have nothing to do with the entertainment industry whatsoever, I'm sure it was even bigger deal for them, right?
Yeah. The amount of texts I got where people were saying, I just started watching Lucifer. Which one's your episode? And I was like, oh boy, you have 5 seasons to get through.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the support and the random people from all over the world. That was a really fun thing too. I had a friend who lives in Norway who sent me a screenshot of my name, but all the subtitles in Norwegian, and just seeing my work around the world, it's astounding.
Yeah, like that probably really made it real for you, like thinking about all the different territories that Netflix has. And so you're working as a TV writer, you have your first episode of television in the works. I imagine happened pretty close to entering the contest. Why, I guess the question I'm getting to is, if you're working, why are you entering screenwriting contests?
Good question. So when I entered Big Break, I did not have representation. And I knew that getting a placement in a contest of the caliber of Big Break could really do a lot for my career. Just looking at the history of Big Break, not even winners, but just placers, the careers they've gone on to have.
Yeah.
I knew that could give me a little boost. It also was in the midst of the pandemic and I needed a little pat on the shoulder. So I thought, well, maybe this will give me that little pat on the shoulder.
So you did have a positive outlook of that. You know, it was a good script. You knew.
Well, I thought maybe I'll place. And every time I placed, I was like, wow, this is great. This is all I wanted. And then I would advance to the next level. And I'm like, whoa, I can't believe it. And just that journey, that small doling out of, oh, you advanced was a lot of pats on the shoulder.
And during the worst and most delayed year of the contest ever, in terms of the pandemic and trying to manage the contest, the entries were well over what we're used to getting, and just, being down staff because everyone had a furlough, right?
Yeah.
We all went through the pandemic.
We did.
At what point did you start to think, like, in the rollout of the announcements, like at what point were you like, holy shit, I might actually win this?
For me, it was that Friday that you sent me an email saying I'd won my category. And there was a part of me that thought, maybe I could win.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even let myself go there because I was so thrilled of just having won that category. But that little voice is like, you could win this. I'm like, but no, this is enough. This is enough. But maybe I want to win it. I let myself admit that I wanted to win it.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think that a lot of aspiring writers that are on Twitter know me as Auntie Kayla. I'm out there always cheering people on, but I'm also stalking all of you. I'm watching you. I'm paying attention who's rising through the ranks. And a common theme that I see is there's a lot of questioning whether or not and what they should celebrate, like the different milestones, the different touchstones in your career as you're climbing the ladder. It's so fucking hard to get a career in this business. I mean, for people that don't know, like the stats for TV writers, there are more working NBA players than there are working television writers.
Yikes.
So if you think about that, that's pretty, it's tough. It's very tough. And the rooms are smaller and the shows are shorter. And it's just, the math is not there for TV writers. So it is very challenging. But I see, my point that I'm trying to get to is, like, I see people like hemming and hawing about celebrating all those little victories. And I wish there was less of that, less of the imposter syndrome. Just because, you're not signed or you're not, a paid writer or what have you, doesn't mean you're not any good. There's just a lot of competition. There are incredible writers all over the place. And, it's tough. So I guess that's where I like that saying of those who don't quit are the ones who make it.
It's true.
Not like they make it because they stayed in it and their writing is whatever. It's because there's just so many good writers out there. And it's really tough to break in, which, obviously. So we're going to have a little like moment of truth here in that. How many meetings did we take?
Gosh, like more than half a dozen.
And we're still working on getting you signed.
Yeah.
It's a tough year. Everyone's coming out of the pandemic, and every single manager that we have met with has been very excited about both you and Stacy. But the overwhelming response is that everyone is just bogged down with trying to get their existing rosters back to work. How has that been for you? Like, I know it's frustrating, but like, what emotions do you go through when you think about that? Like, fuck, I won this contest and I still haven't been signed yet,
Yeah, there are a couple mantras I have for myself, one of which is remember where I was last year and how much I would love to be in this position. Like, I am in a much better position than I was a year ago.
Yeah.
Another thing that I like to remind myself is how much I enjoy writing purely. Like the business aspects of it are not the fun parts. It's the getting on the page, getting into your characters' voices, telling the stories you want to tell. That's where I thrive and remember why I want to do this. It's not always in the meetings or the scheduling or all that.
Yeah, I feel like most writers, there definitely are some extroverted writers who just love meetings and love pitching and are very good at it. But I think overwhelmingly, the rest of the writer population hates every lick of that. It's not fun having to be on and coming up with your personal narrative, and you just want to focus on your writing.
Yeah, which I have to thank you so much. And everyone at Big Break, you have made me so much more confident about my personal narrative. And every time I open up a Zoom, the amount of butterflies I feel are nil compared to the day after winning the contest.
I know Mira and Stacey's stories like it's my own.
Yeah. And
but I'm not going to go out there and impersonate you, I promise.
I mean, I'm not going to impersonate you, but just the meeting chops that Big Break has given me is amazing. I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we're obviously still working on the signing part of things. And, there's also the opinion that you don't need to be signed to have a career, right? And maybe that's your path. Maybe you're going to be the kind of writer that gets your own jobs and has an agent and an attorney to make sure your deals are good or what have you. There's definitely, there is this misconception, I feel like, that writers feel like once they have a manager, they've made it, they've broken in, their career started. And it's like, no, you're just now putting the work in with this person. It's an accomplishment, don't get me wrong, but effectively what you've done is decided to go into business with someone. And they're going to put in as much work as you do. So if people have the attitude of, well, once I have a manager, I'm cool, they're probably not going to get very far, because managers are looking for people that generate lots and lots of content. Right. So, yeah. So I just, I want to bring that up because I feel like, we should be transparent with writers about the realities of the industry right now, but also it's not, a deal breaker for career wise that you're not signed yet, right? You're a working television writer. You're still taking meetings. I'm still working on you guys. So it's just a matter of time. But yeah, I like to keep everything above board, as they say.
Yeah. And anecdotally, a lot of the support staff folks that I know who have made the jump and gotten staff did so without a manager. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's about the quality of your writing and the connections that you have. And a manager can help you with both. But if you are busting your butt and working on generating material that's reflective of who you are and what you have to offer, and working your networks, you can make it happen too. But managers are great.
Have like the amount of managers now. You know someone at most firms now, which is amazing because you could have something, a new sample that you get to go back to these people and say, hey, thanks for meeting with me last year. I have a new sample. And like you said, I'm sharing it with you. So yeah, all is not lost.
All is not lost. Definitely not.
No, you have way more wins than that. So let's tell the audience about you as a person. Like, who is Mira? Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I am a queer Middle Eastern descent TV drama writer. I grew up in New York City and was born to modern Jewish Orthodox family. At 12, I kind of left that. And ever since then, I've been trying to find my place in the world, I guess you could say. And that's what I like to do on the page too. I'm very interested in characters who are outsiders and will go to extreme lengths to find a sense of home or belonging or family.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really common theme with most people in general, is like finding what is home. Is it a place? Is it a feeling? So speaking of those characters and those things that are interesting to you, what are you watching at home? What are your favorite TV shows?
Let's see. I really love female protagonists, shows that are dark, but also very comedic. I think Lucifer gave me that affection, but just speaking in like the past year, my absolute favorite show is The Great. It really hits everything on the nail for me. I love how funny it is, but how dark it gets as well. Mm-hmm. And just the costumes are so lush and just a fun world. Let's see, what else? I'm loving Hacks.
Oh my God. Max. I've already seen that whole, so little cheat, we get press screeners So our team was watching that. I wrapped that up not a long time ago, but like, I love that. I agree. I love it so much. What do you think about the character, the writer, the ghost writer? Like how right do you think that, how well do you think they got that role? Yeah. Did they get the role right as a, TV writer under the age of 30? What do you think?
Well, I would say that she feels very much like a comedy writer, which I'm not. So it rang true to me. It was a little, as someone who's not in her early 20s, it was like, oh man, she had an overall deal and she's like 23. I'm so behind.
Yeah.
Different journeys for different people. I mean, she's not even a real person. So why am I comparing myself to her?
Right. But we do. Right. Well, because, it gets back to, I think I forget who it was. I think it was Robert McKee, but was saying, like we go to the movies, we go to the TV show to see ourselves, so that does make sense but yeah, no, come on. I please, if you are in your early 20s and you have an overall deal, raise your hand because don't compare yourself to that. Definitely the exception. So what would be your dream show to write on?
I have to say my dream show to write on is the show I'm currently working on now.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
I can tell, like, you guys can't see it, but I can see the glow in me.
Yeah. I can't say too much about it, but it really, like I said, it centers on that through line that I'm interested in, of those people who are trying to make their way in a world that's a little hostile to them and thriving. So, I mean, yeah. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm talking about in 2023.
I'm so excited. I wasn't expecting that answer. Usually what is your dream show? And people will, rattle off 3 or 4 shows that they would love to be in the room on. You're like, oh, well, I'm in that room. So I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, I feel extremely grateful and lucky.
Yeah. So do you want to show run? Like what's your long game? What's your career, your dream career?
My dream career is to show run. Again, through my experience on Lucifer, getting to have my eyes on all steps of the process from being in the room. And then for the seasons that I was on Lucifer, we had our stages right across this street from our writer's room. So we could just pop in at any time. We got to know the actors. We got to see things being shot. We got to be part of the editing process. So that really put that bug in me of wanting to be part of that and have a vision seen through from beginning to end. And also getting to collaborate and confer with experts like an art designer who can take what you're envisioning to the next level. Just seeing that all happen is so fulfilling and makes me excited to go to work every day. So that's where I'd love to end up at some point.
You brought up something that I think is really key that I see many writers forget, which is the collaboration. Making film, making television is a collaboration. And, sometimes writers can get very precious with their script in its, their final draft of it. And things change when they get into the hands of the director and when they get in the hands of the producer and everyone's got notes and stuff. And I think it's a lot easier when you go into it, embracing the collaboration side of things. So I guess my point is you're going to be an amazing showrunner. But that is a lot of work. I look at, the Gloria Calderon-Kellets and Tanya Sarachos, and I've seen how hard they're working around the clock. And it's a hard job. You have your hands in every aspect of that show from development to post, right?
Yeah.
So, wow. Yeah, that's an ambitious goal just in the workload. You're definitely capable, but yeah, that's a lot to take on.
It's a lot to take on. I had a showrunner in the past who had to have his salads chopped up into tiny bits because he didn't have enough time to chew. It was just like, it's
okay. I'm not going to lie. That sounds extra as hell. But at the same time, as someone who is also I feel like I'm running a marathon professionally and personally, I've definitely had those days where I'm like, I don't have time to eat lunch. Like, is there just a pill I can take that gives me everything I need, like nutritionally? I don't have time for this shit.
Exactly. Which is where assistants come in and keep you fed.
Oh my gosh. We need wow. That's hilarious. I need my salad chopped because I don't have time to chew. That's pretty fantastic. So wrapping up, Mira, if you could go back to, so there's, obviously our contest is open again this season. You're going to get to meet the winners from this season and, kind of, have little Q&A sesh with them about how to capitalize on it. But that being said, like you said, when you first entered, you weren't thinking, oh, I'm going to win this. How do I prepare as a winner? So having won it, what would you go back? What advice would you give yourself, the Mira that was entering that script back then?
You're going to laugh, but my advice would be to get really strong internet connection. I don't know if you remembered, but we had a meeting with managers and I was doing my elevator pitch and my internet cut out and I got totally flustered, but you kind of shepherded me back on the path. And I think the great lesson in that was that I learned I don't have to be nervous because Kayla, you and the whole team you just supported us throughout. You made sure it was okay.
Yeah.
I was so nervous, but you guys really steadied the boat. And when that flub up did happen, I'm like, oh, you know what? It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the conversation now. Like, okay, where did we leave off, guys? I got to get off the elevator.
Exactly. So yeah. I guess I wish I could tell myself, just keep calm. It's going to be okay. You have a great team behind you who's going to make sure that you have the best possible outcome. So don't feel like you have to do this all on your own, or that if you don't make it in the first meeting, that it's all over.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I will say, I wouldn't have even thought you were flustered. I was flustered for you. Like when you disappear, I'd be like, no. It was like very dramatic, like, oh God, where'd she go? Poor thing. And no one thought, anything about it. It didn't affect a thing. You just picked up and you kept going.
Yeah,
and
like I cared about it more than anyone else did. But it's good to remind myself of that.
Another day, another dropped Zoom call. Like, but for you, it's like your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big fucking deal. Oh man. Well, thank you for coming on the show. As I said before, we still have a lot of work to do with you and our goals for you as a winner. But, it sounds like even without Big Break, you're going to do well. And I really look forward to seeing you, at the helm and like in charge of who do. Good grace, you guys. Someone take away my mic. But I think that I'm very confident that you're going to put together rooms that are meaningful, that are going to be fair and, inclusive, but also, just focused on your voice, your storytelling. Because that's one thing I always hear when I'm talking to you. That's who your characters are, who you are, seems to be like the recurring theme. It's very important to know yourself and to find yourself in others. And so I think you'd put together a pretty incredible room. So Netflix, when you're looking for your next showrunner, for your next, creepy drama with cool characters, Mira is available.
Aww.
All right, Mira, thanks again for coming on the show. And obviously you and I will see each other real soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks to Mira for coming on the show, and thanks to Kayla Guess for hosting. And as always, thanks to you, our listeners. If you liked this episode, leave us a review, and if you haven't already, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. For news about future episodes and more, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Final Draft Inc. and Instagram at Final Draft Screenwriting. This episode was produced by Kayla Guess with help from associate producer Emma Vranich. Music by T. Kelly. Thanks again, everyone. Until next time, write on.